We got one game left to discuss, and that is the Vikings versus the Bears on Monday Night Football. All the pressure on Caleb Williams and the Bears to match the expectations that people have for them. And I honestly don't think the expectations are even high enough for the Bears. I don't think, at least within the fantasy football space, that the offensive shift for the Bears this season got enough attention. And I think it's going underrated heading into the season. The Vikings, though, they had a big offensive shift as well, going from Sam Darnold to JJ McCarthy, who I do think is going to be an upgrade over Sam Darnold in the long run. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's just an immediate upgrade here in week one. I do think this Vikings team skews a little bit more run heavy, though. With Jordan Addison, he's going to be suspended the first 3 games, not going to be a part of this game. Jalen Naylor's been banged up, dealing with injuries. I think the next guy here, Tay Felton, he might have been dealing with an injury as well. It's going to be Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and then the running backs here in week one. And the Bears defense is good. They were good last year. I think they'll be at least as good this season. Jefferson's still an absolute lock to go for at least 60, 70, 80 receiving yards. His prop line's probably in the high 70s, low 80s, I would imagine. He has the NFL record right now in career receiving yards per game. I think slightly over 100 per game. Crazy. That he's at. Absolutely wild. Like, not a guy that you should ever bet against. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, both are going to mix in this game. I'm very curious to see how that split goes. To me, Jordan Mason is the better value pick right now, especially in half PPR and non-PPR formats. I think he's the better bet to score more touchdowns. Aaron Jones, though, will get more receiving work, so he projects a bit better than Jordan Mason. But both guys are startable in this game, especially with Jordan Addison out. I think we are projecting more rush volume for this team because of that. The Vikings are 1.5 point favorites here in Chicago too, so they could be playing with a lead in this game. We just know this Kevin O'Connell rushing attack so efficient all of the time. So that is definitely reason for some optimism as well. But yeah, on the Bears side of the ball, I don't know if there's a team I'm more excited to watch here in week one than the Bears. Caleb Williams played briefly in the preseason, looked pretty good. He's going from a coaching staff that didn't even watch film with him to an offensive coordinator that's now his head coach, who's been top 5 in points scored in the NFL for 3 straight seasons. Like, this is one of the best offensive minds in the league. Obviously, you got to give some credit to the talent on the lines too that he was working with, but there's some real talent on this team too, with DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and it seems like Olamide Zaccheaus is going to be the wide receiver 3 to start the season, and then it's going to likely be Luther Burden down the stretch in future years or down the stretch of this season. Doesn't seem like he's going to be fantasy relevant out of the gates. Draft Colton Loveland with a top 12 pick in the NFL draft. He's going to be a legit producer right out of the gates. And they have a receiving back with DeAndre Swift. All signs point to this team being extremely pass heavy. They have a 7th round pick in Kyle Monangai, who seems like he is going to be the running back too. Honestly, Roschon Johnson did not play out for him well this preseason. It feels like a lot of uncertainty, even just like health wise. I don't even know if he's healthy and practicing still today. There hasn't been a lot of clarity, I feel like, on Roschon's health. 2 weeks ago was the last report that he was battling a foot issue. Foot issues always super concerning. I'm still not a Manung guy, like I think the other 2 people on the show are today, because pretty much all the same reasons I said for Bill Krosky-Merritt, like just a 7th round rookie that doesn't catch passes. It's just not a bet that I like to make in fantasy. But he seemingly could play sort of a David Montgomery type role on this offense. It sounds like a lot of beat reporters for the Bears think Rome Odunze is going to be the wide receiver 1 on this team. I'm very in on Odunze this season, and I'm very in on Caleb Williams. And we got to project his QB5, man, in this game, which is obviously really high. We've been higher on him in projections all offseason because we're projecting a lot of pass volume, and we're projecting Ben Johnson to be a really big upgrade for this coaching staff. And they have more talent now too, with Loveland and potentially Luther Burden down the stretch as well. Odunze in year 2. I think the arrow is like really pointing up here, and this is going to be like legit NFL offense competing for top 5 points scored in the league. So I'm pretty bullish on the Bears. I will take the Bears in this game because of that. At home as an underdog here, I think we see it right out of the gates from this Ben Johnson-led offense. So I'm going with the Bears. Seth, who you got in this game, and any other things that you're watching for?
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Bears. I think I agree with everything you said. The offensive upgrade has been massively underrated by the fantasy football community, and I think by the community in general. I don't know if the Vikings, like, you can't prepare for this game if you're a Vikings coach. You may look at the Lions last year to try to prepare, but I think that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Looking
And
at that.
I think a lot of people make a mistake expecting, like, they're trying to peg people into the Lions roles. Like, who's going to play the Amon-Ra St. Brown role? Like, who's going to play the Gibbs role? And I don't think that's how it's going to be. Like, I think the best coaches, they fit their schemes to the best players on their team. Like, there's going to be in a Dunze role, in a DJ Moore role, that's going to be slightly different than the Amon-Ra role, because the best players get the most out of their best players to just get them the ball in space. I don't see it sort of playing out that way. So yeah, I agree. It's going to be tough for the Vikings to prepare for sure.
And then the only, I guess, disagreement I have, and maybe I don't know where you're at for week one specifically, but I'm not big on Rome Odunze week one. The main reason is, I mean, you look at 8.8 points per game last season. I know he's looked good. I know he's got some hype, but I see him more as like a boom bust player week in, week out, because there is Colston Loveland, who I am so excited about. There is Luther Burden, who they're going to probably get some screens to in this game. Which I don't think the Lions really have somebody like that. So exactly to your point, they went and got Luther Burden for a reason. They got Colston Loveland for a reason. I am really excited about DeAndre Swift, but Rome Odunze week one, he's not a must sit for me, but I do not trust it week one. I think I'd like to wait and see how it looks before moving forward with it, before I trust him, because there's guys like Jacoby Myers, Ricky Pearsall, Emeka Egbuka that you're like really confident are going to get some nice target share, where Rome Odunze last year was like mostly actively hurting your team. So I'd like to see that. But yeah, I'm going with the Bears, and I'm excited to definitely, this is an amazing Monday night game to start off the year.
Yeah, I'd go Egbuka over Odunze as well. But yeah, I'm pretty confident starting him week one. I also think Odunze is going to play more in the slot than we saw last season, where Keenan Allen played a lot last year, and where we've seen Ben Johnson really get the most out of players. Odunze was in the slot like around 20% of the time last year. That's outside like the top 90 receivers in slot rate. Someone's going to play in that slot role. I think a lot of people expected it to be DJ Moore or maybe Loveland or maybe Burden. I sneakily think it might actually end up being Odunze, at least out of the gates as well. And yeah, pulling up the slot rate in the WalterPicks app, 24.4%, wide receiver 100. Like, this is going back to the shift from year to year. The bad coaching staff didn't just affect Caleb Williams. They didn't use any of these players to the best of their ability. And Odunze was a really, really strong prospect, top 15 pick in the NFL draft. I still am pretty high on him. So I'm comfortable starting him week one in situations where it makes sense. I wouldn't start him over Egbuka, but Seth and I disagree on that. We'll definitely check back in the week one recap and see how that one ages. Avery, which side of the Odunze argument are you on? Are you taking the Bears in this game too?
Odunze, I think, can have a pretty startable role season long. This game, I'm a little bit worried because the over-under is 43.5 in a game that's pretty much even. So I don't love starting the fringe guys in this one. He is projected 49.5 receiving yards compared to DJ Moore at 54.5 for what the books have. But I'm taking the Vikings in this one. I'm going to split the difference here. I'm not going to go clean sweep on the Bears, even though they are at home. And they have the better offense. The weapons are better, especially with these wide receiver 2s and 3s being injured for the Vikings. But Caleb Williams just was not that great last season. And I think the Ben Johnson upgrade is 100% going to be shown. But in week one, I think the Vikings can take this one. But as far as DJ Moore goes, I mean, I drafted him in the 32-person WalterPicks Fantasy Football League for a reason, and I'm standing on this fact. I think he's going to work extremely well in the Ben Johnson offense here. He was the wide receiver 8 in yards after the catch. We've known every time you say DJ Moore's name, the first thing that comes to your head is his yards after catch ability. And Ben Johnson led the Lions to the #1 highest yards after catch efficiency last year. Yes, they had a different offense and different players, but it's just something that works well together. And DJ Moore led the NFL in receptions on screens last year. And that's something that is also going to continue. So the PPR upside there is very strong. The only downside is that there is a lot of target competition with Rome, with Colston Loveland, even Luther Burden, if you want to count that in there. And he was towards the back half of the league in catchable target rate last year, even with the great offensive weapons he had. So there is definitely some red flags. The offensive line is a lot better this year, which I think is going to allow everything to open up. DeAndre Swift is projected for just under 50 rushing yards and 9 yards in the pass game. So he's going to be a fringe start. I will be starting him in my leagues, but I think there is a role for a RB2 behind him. And that to me is Kyle Monangai. Whether he's going to be fantasy startable, I don't think so. Probably more of a thorn in DeAndre Swift's side.
That does it for our game-by-game breakdown. I don't think we solidified each of our week one waiver targets yet. I think Ollie Gordon counts because I don't think enough people will probably add him before week one. Maybe if the Achane injury news really blasts, that he will. I think in general, though, some of these rookie running backs, they're going to start to get added after week one. If it's not Ollie Gordon, it might be Kyle Monangai. If it's not Kyle Monangai, it might be Brashard Smith or Taj Brooks. Some of these rookie running backs that have bigger roles than people anticipate, I think people will realize the ceiling of these handcuffs pretty quickly. Another interesting receiver situation here is with the Vikings. Who's the wide receiver 2 on this team? Is it Jalen Naylor if he's even fully healthy? Is that a fantasy viable role? I could see people running to add these guys for the next couple of weeks. If injuries hit, which they always do, unfortunately, in week one, I don't know if Caleb Williams counts. I think he's getting drafted in most drafts, but I imagine there's like some of these quarterbacks too, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams that aren't getting drafted in every draft. Like some of these guys will have massive week ones and people will be scrambling, I think, to add them as well. Any notable week one waiver targets I missed there that people might be adding?
Yeah, I went with Isaac Tesla from the Detroit Lions.
Nice.
Not only I checked his roster percentage, it was 18% on Sleeper from what I could see. And so I counted that as someone that I think is going to be added. Not only he's a fun player, got good name recognition. People love the Lions. I think a lot of people will be watching that game. So I don't think he even needs to score a touchdown for people to get excited about him for week 2. And I think he's going to be involved with how do you stop Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and Tesla as well. Because remember, Tim Patrick had some good games last season for the Lions as kind of a wide receiver 3. So that's my prediction. What did you have, Avery?
Yeah, if it's not CJ Stroud to be a high QB2, I think it's going to be Marvin Mims. In some sharper leagues, he's already drafted, but this guy is a wide receiver 2 pretty clearly on a team that is getting better. The offensive line, the defense, the way the offense is just going to run. Bo Nix in his second year, it's only getting better. And they lost Josh Reynolds. They just traded away Devon Bailey. That's a pretty good sight that they're going all in on their wide receivers in Pat Bryant and Marvin Mims. So I'm taking Marvin Mims as a sleeper. I know the game total is really low at 41.5 for the Broncos and the Titans, but he's a guy that I want on my roster for the season-long value.
Yeah, I can't stop taking them in these final best ball drafts I've been doing. If you're in a draft using the WalterPicks app, Marvin Mims is getting drafted in your draft for sure. We already have him as a top 48 receiver. I think he's getting drafted outside the top 60 receivers in basically every single fantasy draft. Definitely curious to see his role as well. So some good waiver shout outs there. I think that does it for our first game by game show. A lot of games will be a little faster when we have some bye weeks that start hitting as well. The next show from us will be a team by team recap. We're going to be doing a team by team recap every Monday. Should be out every Monday before hopefully the Monday Night Football game. And then we're going to do a game by game recap sometime around Wednesday or Thursday, likely coming to the YouTube streets for the upcoming week, all season long. Pumped to be getting after it this season with you guys. Can't believe draft season's coming into an end, but pumped for the NFL season to get started as well. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like button if you guys enjoyed this content. We'll be continuing to pump it out, and we'll see you all next time.